Welcome in to the fun Astrology podcast. Thomas Miller on a holiday in the United States. Everywhere else, rock and roll as normal. Glad you stopped by today. We're going to do kind of a quick overview because in the northern hemisphere, we are starting summer. In the southern hemisphere, obviously, it's going to be the cold of winter for a while. Good skiing ahead in Peru and Argentina, etc. I got to get down there one of these days for some winter skiing in the summer. You know, I could easily, I think, live in the southern hemisphere during these months and in the northern hemisphere beginning in October or November. But not for now. I'm loving where I am in the Smoky Mountains, having a magical weekend. Let's take a look at some overview stuff, all right? So first of all, 8:11 p.m. tonight. So basically we go through all of today and then we hit tonight. The sun conjuncts the north node of the moon in Gemini. That is otherwise known as the peak of the moon wobble. Now this one I think probably has been most characterized by the unrest in the Middle East. I mean, almost the first day of this, we walk back 21 days, and that was really when this was starting to flare, and that really corresponded with the moon wobble. We kind of have an interesting dynamic here because this moon wobble is an off-the-beaten-path kind of thing. We talk about it here just because it came on my radar, and I think it's something worth noting and observing. And I've scanned the headlines, as you do too, probably, and have seen a lot of the things that have happened over the last 3 weeks. One of the things that I have observed off the headlines is I think there's just been a general sense of angst over the last couple of weeks. I've heard it from others. I've certainly felt it at various times myself. So maybe this moon wobble, offsetting things like Jupiter moving into Pisces, has just been this characteristic of unrest. Will that improve? Well, a couple of thoughts. Number one, and actually I've pretty much stacked all of this on the funastrology.com website down in the blog area on the right-hand side. I've got all the current events if you'd like to go check these dates. So the moon wobble will be waxing now until June 7th. Mercury is in retrograde now through June 22nd. So really we could talk about retrograde season because Mercury now, as the moon wobble is fading out, Mercury retrograde is fading in like a cross dissolve there. Then we have the solar eclipse on June 10th. And then we have the big Saturn square Uranus number 2, the sequel, on June 14th. More on that in a bit. And then June 20th, Jupiter retrograde. June 25th, Neptune retrograde. Skip a month, August 20th, Uranus retrograde. So you see why I say retrograde season. So by August 20th, if we go back and check Pluto's dates and Saturn's dates, everything then from August 20th until the first part of October, we're going to have all the theme builders, all the slow movers will be in retrograde. So I'll keep that stack up on the website all the way through. We'll keep monitoring it. And as there are other things like Mercury retrogrades and other little ditties that come in there, we'll pop those in as well. Okay, what do we do with that? Well, I was visiting with a friend over the holiday here and just asked in general, what energy are you feeling? How are things going? And her comment was very good. It said, it feels like a bubble. Feels like we're just in this isolated bubble. And I asked, does it feel to you like a calm before the storm kind of bubble, or does it feel more like a protective bubble? And it was more like a protective bubble. And that is really perceptive and very good information. And what really struck me was, as she elaborated, and her processing of this phase was, don't go looking for answers without. Let the answers from within come through you. That's retrograde season. Bingo. So maybe we're just coming into that drift a little bit early. We're anticipating it. But I could easily see the back half of this year being a year of more just being And not that that's something that we shouldn't be doing all the time. But I mean to really put feet to it this year. So instead of striving, allow. Instead of pushing, rest. And key in on what may be perhaps the most important thing of all. The answers are within you. So using this season as a time to allow those answers to come through. The universe, the sky will be supporting that for really the whole back half of this year. Now let's talk about the other big one, Saturn squaring Uranus, June 14th. Ray Merriman, I have mentioned him before on here, and in fact was very honored to receive an email from Ray thanking me for mentioning him on the show because so many of you signed up for his newsletter. I really appreciated that. And Ray, if you happen to listen again because we're mentioning you again, why, great. You're welcome, and thank you for being a part of this. Ray has been around for a long time. He is the dean of financial astrology, and he is rock solid. His website is Merriman, Merriman, market analyst. The URL is MMAcycles.com. And he has a weekly newsletter that comes out on the weekend, taking a look at both the markets and the astrology for the next week. In this week's newsletter, it's also free from his website. You don't have to subscribe, but it does give you a nice little reminder, and he doesn't hammer you with a bunch of other stuff. But this week's is extra important because he talks about the upcoming Pluto return for the United States. And this is very important astrological energy that we need to be addressing. Nobody alive has had a Pluto return. No major country on the world's stage in modern times has had a Pluto return. So as we're navigating these waters, it's the voices of the Ray Merrimans out there that we need to listen to. And ironically, as I've kind of formulated my own watch, wait, and observe game plan, and then I read this week's article, it's like almost identical, the same thing of what I've formulated. So, hey, that was just a big feather in the cap. I really appreciated that. I mean, that was a cool moment to go, wow, yes, this is exactly. So that's what I'm saying is just read what Ray says. It's very well written, and I think on target. So we'll leave that at there, and we'll see you back tomorrow. And I hope you have a great rest of your holiday if you're in the U.S., and we will kick off the week in earnest tomorrow. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. Sending you love. Bye-bye.